Binding Kit by Mindy Paper Art Studio. You'll need a pair of scissors. You have your instruction booklet and your supplies shown here. Each kit will have slightly different supplies, but the basics are the same. Set yourself up on a clean work surface and begin with your booklet, which has been made better than the one you see here. We'll start with the cover. This is a piece of reclaimed leather cut to size. Fold the short ends together and gently crease with your fingernails or a blunt edge. This is a good time to get out your reclaimed cardboard workspace to work on. Now we're going to add the distressed rub-on transfer. You're going to remove the backing and that will distress the image. Part of the image will come off on the backing, and that's okay. If you don't like it, you don't have to use it on your book. Once the backing has been removed, flip it over and place on your cover. Once again, using a blunt edge or your fingernail to rub it into place. Once you feel like it's adhered enough, you can gently peel off the plastic backing. Next step, punching the holes in the center of your cover. Take the hole punch guide and align it with the center crease on your cover. Make sure you're on top of your cardboard workspace and use the thumbtack to punch holes along the cover. Make sure to go all the way through into the cardboard. Great, set your cover aside and we'll move on to the next step. Take your blank sheets of paper and separate them into groups of 3. This will create 3 signatures or 3 sections of pages that will be sewn individually into your tiny book. Take a set of 3 pages and make sure they're together evenly before folding them, short edges together, increasing once again with your fingernail or a blunt edge. Repeat with all 3 sections of paper. Once you've folded all 3 sets of paper, you open them up to the center and use the hole punch guide to punch holes in the center for sewing. Use your thumbtack to pierce all 3 pieces of paper at once and to push through to the cardboard workspace underneath. Repeat with all 3 sections. You'll notice I'm aligning the hash marks so that they're centered on the paper, and there's a little bit of overlap. Now we're ready to get sewing. We're going to bind this tiny little book with waxed thread, waxed with beeswax, to make it glide through the paper easier. Find the end of your thread and thread the needle, leaving a small tail, but do not knot the thread onto the needle. There's the small tail. Now take your cover and place it shiny side down onto your workspace. And align the centers with the punched holes of both the cover and your first signature. Begin sewing by threading your needle through the center hole of the inside pages out through the back of the cover. Don't worry too much if your holes don't line up perfectly. They are guidelines, and as we add more signatures, you will have to pierce more holes in the leather cover. Now come back up through an adjacent hole into the center of the pages. And go back down through the next hole in line. When you reach the end of your holes, you're going to go back the way you came, finding the next hole in the opposite direction. In this case, there's already thread going through it, so the hole will be easier to puncture. Use your thumb to hold the tiny little piece of thread in the middle down while you sew. It will help keep your stitches tight. And then alternate back and forth through the holes until you get to the other end of your book. As we stitch through the end, we come back around one more time from the back, and you'll notice that there's a solid line of stitches along the back edge of the book once we put that last stitch in. Now trim the thread, just leaving enough so that you can make 1 or 2 square knots with the tail ends. Make sure to pull them tight, and once you've got a couple of knots in there, trim them nice and short. First signature is bound into your book. Time to add the next one. Fold the pages over so that you can easily see the center, and line up your second set of pages alongside the first. This is where you can try to use the existing holes from your first sewing set through the cover, or you can pierce through right next to them. Be sure to leave a little tail for your thumb to hold on to, so keep your stitches tight. And once again, follow the sewing pattern back and forth through the pages, switching directions when you come to the end. I've supplied 3 signatures for you in this tiny book, but you can really add as many as you'd like with extra paper or when you go on to make another mini book using these techniques. It'll make your book thicker and thicker, and you can get some nice colors on the binding from your sewing stitches. It's just one of the many ways you can be creative with this art form. So here we are coming to the end of the second signature. We trim the ends of the thread and do a couple of simple knots to secure the thread in place. Trim it off nice and tight and continue to fold and the pages aside so you can add your last and final signature. When you're done, this book will have, let's see, so each signature gives you 6 pages, so 18 pages. Start at the center, from the pages, back through the cover, holding a tail with your thumb, coming back in through the adjacent hole, and continuing back and forth through the pages until you reach the end of the book, reversing direction, and weaving back and forth between the holes. You can just start to see here how the lines of stitches are stacking up, because I'm not going exactly in the original hole of the cover, I'm going next to it. And one last stitch, and then we can tie the knots on this last set of pages. Here I am trying to show you how to tie the knot. So I think most of us know this. It's very simple. I think it's a square knot. I actually should probably look that up, huh? Pull it nice and tight and trim off the ends. And now we can add the end papers. So end papers in a traditional book are glued in place. For this kit, I've included a vinyl with an adhesive back for ease of application. It has a similar texture to like a Band-Aid. It's a thin, plasticky type of material. And we're going to begin by applying it to the back of the page. So see that last page on the left? We're going to take part of the backing off of this adhesive vinyl and fold it back so that we have better control of it than if we took all of the backing off of the vinyl. So if you take the backing and crease it about a ½ inch to an inch down, then you can line up that sticky edge along with the edge of that last page of paper, and then gently press it down as you pull the rest of the backing off while trying to keep it straight. It does take a little bit of practice, but this last step is a finishing touch on the book, kind of bringing the pages and the cover together as one and protecting the binding. You're going to do this on both the front and the back pages of the book. Once again, releasing a little bit of the backing and folding it down so that you have a small sticky edge that you can easily line up versus a large flimsy piece of adhesive vinyl. Lining up with the outside edge of that page. Oops, got a little stuck there without unintentionally stuck. Using gentle pressure, you can adjust it a little bit, but it's not super forgiving. So now I'm peeling the backing off while I am gently pressing down the vinyl. Went a little funky there, but it's okay. This is a handmade book. So once you're all done with putting the backings on, you can go ahead and trim the cover. I've cut them a little bit larger for you so that you do have some extra room there depending on how tight you got your signature pages together. I want to make sure you had enough room. Let's just trim off that little bit of extra to match with the edges. And you should probably use sharper scissors than I'm using in this video. You'll notice I get a little bit of a crooked cut there. And that's the last step on your tiny book. Enjoy making, and I'd love to see your finished products. Send them to me in email or just tag me on social media. Have fun.